Everyone, what's going on? Welcome back to another episode as we wrap up a key month of recruiting in July. Jacob White takes his campus visit, our new point guard target. Looks like things went well there, and our staff went to the Big Apple Showcase. Checking out the recap here, some of the standouts. I always like seeing who the camp MVP is and the top 5 players who made the all showcase team. So first off, hit the like button if you guys like this series and subscribe to the channel. It's a huge help. Rob Homer's a guy that I like out of Virginia, except for his athleticism isn't great, but definitely if you're new to the series, definitely drop in the comments if there's recruits you guys like as we look to round out a big recruiting class. And one thing I want to mention before we get really started into this, if you remember back in episode 12, one of our current players, Matt Cross, left the team to a transfer. It was extremely disappointing. And then sure enough, this week, Cross left the real Hurricanes team. I thought it was very ironic. Big disappointment, obviously. He was a 4-star recruit for the Hurricanes, started some games. And certainly they're going to need to replace him. So back to our series, our dynasty here. Bill Isles. You know, this guy, I mean, he's great. He checks all the boxes. The athleticism, the scoring is good. I like that the 22 points a game. Villanova's in on him. But for some reason, he's one of our few guys that has showed interest. It's only a cool level, but in that Atlantic East region, which has given us some trouble in recruiting all summer long here. Josh Rivera is another guy, and I remember Faulkner was a guy as well. We'll check in on him. But Isles would be great, another 5-star recruit that we would love to add to the class. My goal is just to get one. If we could just get one, that'd be a great starting point. And then kind of trickle it down to 4 stars. And there's some 3 stars that I wouldn't mind having. But right now we're looking for our first commit of this 2022 recruiting cycle. And definitely, you know, this is such a big recruiting year for us because we have 6 scholarships to give as we transition to kind of a new look team. Brought in 4 new guys last year, so these are going to be the guys that we kind of built for in the future, and hopefully we've got some gems here that will be those all-conference caliber guys. And certainly we're looking for those standouts to go with our group. So I definitely like where the direction we're going, but we just have to land some guys here. Definitely would like to add a quality point guard in the class. Looking for scoring from the wing, that shooting guard, small forward position. And then if we can grab some defenders in the post, maybe some guys that could score a little bit, but I'm really looking for a defensive center to go with Howard, who we signed last year as a top 50 recruit at that power forward spot. So I feel very good about that with what we did last year. So just looking at some of these guys. And Larry Burks, you guys know that I've been liking him all recruiting process, but he just hasn't showed any interest at some point. Probably should just revoke the scholarship and move on from him. And obviously the scoring is the big thing that I'm looking for. I like the guys with the high assist totals and kind of the all-around game. But you're looking for those high scoring marks inside and out. But I definitely want to get wing defenders. Really athletic forwards at that 3-4 spot. Guys that can block shots, defend the perimeter, get rebounds, even if their scoring isn't as high as some of the other guys. But that's something I'm looking forward to doing here. And just an update, also Ryland is still controlling Virginia Tech. I haven't included him in the recent episodes, but he's still busy with recruiting, and I'll definitely catch up with him as we wrap up the full summer recruiting cycle and then get ready for our second season with our teams. Kerry Weber, one of our top targets. And Jacob White. These are the 2 guys, if I were to pick out the 2 guys that I want the most, it'd be White and Weber there in the backcourt. We're just going to make sure we put a lot of time on these phone calls. Basically what happens, this is kind of like you're coaching your head coaching phone calls, whereas your assistants do call the guys on your call list, even if you don't reach out to them. But I like putting a lot of emphasis on just those top guys. See if we can make an impact. Weber, a scorer, a good shooter from Atlanta, likes location, so that's something that we're certainly going all in on. And as you can see, our team budget is really low right now. I don't know how that's going to shake out. Sometimes with these games, not necessarily, I'm not sure how this one works out, but I know with some other games where you control just the team and everything going on, you can apply or ask the board for more money. I don't know if that's a possibility, because we did not have this situation last season. But I'm kind of getting a little antsy about the first commit. We've got so many spots to fill. I want somebody to jump on board. Again, Homer, he's got that defense I like at the A. He's got the A rating on defense, and he's a good scorer. He doesn't have the athleticism, but I really like what he would be able to bring to the table. And then got Brian Robinson. Been on him throughout the recruiting cycle, ever since the first episode of this recruiting cycle. Robinson and Vershaw from Florida, and Florida certainly has it's Florida and Michigan State that really pop up on a lot of our recruits. And I'm still gonna go after Isles here. Man, he would be incredible to have on the roster. Man, one of the best players in the country. Did really good at camp or showcases. Jim Oliver. Oliver looks like a guy that we could get on board here. And I know, it's not exactly what I'm looking for. He's a JUCO guy, 20 points a game, doesn't have high assist or rebounding totals, but he is a 4-star recruit, one of those top overall guys. At the 2.7 GPA, I feel like with Miami's SAT or their minimum SAT score, I feel like he's a guy, based on kind of how last recruiting cycle went, that we'd be able to get into school. That's a big thing that you don't know until January of the recruiting cycle when you get the SAT scores, and every school has their own minimum SAT requirements. But just want to look at key dates here. Again, July 31st, in this quiet period. The big thing coming up is the contact period's coming up soon. Okay, Jim Oliver campus visit. Just want to let you know. He had an awesome time. Okay, that's great. I feel like we can get a commitment from Oliver. Mike Howard, that's awesome. The Norton Award. Mike Howard, nominated for award and just a freshman. I like that. Definitely a quality player. I am expecting big things out of him. Impact player immediately. And I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I feel like if Howard really develops, is that immediate impact player, it's going to pair nicely with Timberlake at the 3, who's a sophomore during this season, and then Wong being a junior. I think those 3 guys moving forward for that next year, we could have a really good team. Depending on how everybody develops, next year might be the year that we compete for an ACC title. Okay, so just kind of, Linehan Blake is a guy that I like. We're just not getting great feedback. And Weber, his top 10 schools, those don't look to be realistic because he's a much better prospect than that. We've got to be in on him though, based on how much time we've put in on him. We'll just stick with it, kind of be persistent. I don't want to give up on him because he's such an impact guy, and I think that's the thing with basketball. These guys make such a big difference if you get a good player in. Just picking different aspects to talk to him about, because I always talk to him about location and Isles. I mean, Syracuse is a good program in there, and Pittsburgh being an ACC school, but those other ones. But I keep looking at Villanova. It feels like that's where he's going to end up if it's an accurate top 10. Okay, so Oliver, we're 10th on him right now. Kentucky. I hate being so far down, but he's got the warm rating on interest. Rod Butler as well. Sanders was a good guy that did well in the showcase. I've kept an eye on. This is just a look at our call list. These are guys that we're targeting and kind of keeping an eye on. Syracuse, Michigan State. Michigan State had the number 1 recruiting class in our first season. If you guys remember, we ended up being 17th overall, which was great. Danielson is a nice player. Yeah, any one of these 4-star guys that we've been targeting, certainly a 5-star, if we're able to grab any one of these guys, would be great for the program. One of the things I remember just with Miami's recruiting class, and kind of going back to DeJuan Huel at the time, DeJuan Hernandez changed his name, but he was a highly regarded guy, and there was some talk about he wasn't necessarily the complete 5-star type of guy, but he was a McDonald's All-American, and for Miami at the time, that was a big deal. And one of the things that DeJuan, by landing DeJuan, and yes, there might have been some flaws in his game as a prospect at that time. It's good to kind of get the ball rolling on those type of guys, and then afterwards you started to see that with Miami. Getting Bruce Brown, who was a quality player, Lonnie Walker as well. And I think that's the kind of the mindset that we're trying to go with here. Try to get any type of 5-star guy, even if it's flawed. Kerry Weber was the guy that was a 5-star and then dropped to a 4 just outside on the latest rankings here. But we are still going to go all in on him. And I do like Oliver, even though he's not all-around player. He can't be our best player in the class because he looks to be one-dimensional. He's just a shooter, but if he can come in and be a high-quality three-point shooter for us, that would be a great asset to the team. Vershaw's another guy. I feel like he's a little bit flawed. I don't like his athleticism, but he's a big guy and someone that I feel like one of the best in Florida, so I want to get those guys, Vershaw and Robinson, competing against Florida there. That's where they rank. I don't know how many offers or openings Florida has, but they certainly can't take them all the way the game works here. Ellaby's a nice player. I like that 6.6 assists, 4.4 rebounds, B athleticism. I'd feel a little better about Isles if he was located closer, but we're going to stick with it. We're going to stick with Isles here. Ellaby looks like a nice player. One of the things with the updates that I haven't been able to see is, without talking to Rylan, is I don't know which guys he's going after. And before, we would usually talk about the certain guys, if there's any overlaps, but that'd be fun to go head to head here. Michael Lane, you guys remember him, the Jackson sleeper, 7-foot center. I do like him. He's got Miami top 10. Like, we haven't really recruited him, but he likes him. He got the ratings boost, the rankings boost. Good defense, shot blocking, stealing, rebounding. I like that for a 7-foot center. I really like this guy. And then he's got that inside-outside scoring. I'm not worried about free throw shooting. I'm not really worried about athleticism, although that is a big factor. But the fact that he's like 7 foot, almost 300 pounds. I mean, he's not Shaq, so you're not expecting the athlete there at that spot, and that's why he's lower. But if everything else checks out, I think he could be a solid player for us. I'm thinking about offering him, even though he's only a 3-star guy. And he moved up to a 3-star. He was a 2-star when we added him to our big board here. Southeast region is definitely where we need to kind of just stick with moving forward. And the way, just looking at it, we're not going to have very many scholarships available, depending on how this recruiting class goes. But for the next class, because again, we brought in 4 guys last year, there's not a lot of guys leaving. We might only have 1, but anyways, the next year might not be as big of a class, or won't be as big of a class as what these last 2 have been. Butler's a guy that maybe a secondary option, maybe a B option for us if we don't get White. And Robinson's a point guard, but with his assist totals being down, I'm thinking maybe he might be more of a kind of a combo guard. But if we don't get either of those 2, we certainly are going to have to get somebody. Butler looks like a good option. I like that. The interest is a B. He's looking like our next tier of guy. Again, the passing is good. 8.4 assist is good. It's a step below White, but I like that. It's still really high. Tennessee's a school that he's interested in. I do feel like the commitments are going to start happening soon, and hopefully we are able to get 1 or 2 guys early on. But really, the time between after July ends, from August to September, it feels like there's a lot of commitments start happening. And then obviously the early signing period's in November. So hopefully we sign some guys. Getting a little impatient here. Let's go ahead and offer Oliver. I think he can be a guy that commits, and obviously wasn't going to commit without an offer. Okay, here we go. Just kind of moving along. August 14th. Looking at how things are going with our recruiting efforts. Our budget is getting lower and lower. Kerry Weber. Just got to stick with them. Got to stay patient, and hopefully it pays off for us. I feel like we've been on Weber this whole time. And it's obviously such a big benefit to get one of your top priority guys early on, or as your first commits, because it allows you some flexibility with some of the other guys. Feels like you don't have too much pressure to land a top guy if you already get one, so you can maybe kind of look for those sleepers, potential hidden gems in the recruiting process. Look at just an update on our offer list, our 6 offers that are out there, and you can't offer more than the scholarships you had. So if you want to offer someone else, you have to revoke a scholarship. I like Oliver, White, and Weber. That'd be a good 3 guards if we can get those guys. Vershaw, Rob, all these guys, honestly, if we could get, let's just close on all of them, sign them all up, and let's move on. Although Desmond doesn't really, I'm not that excited about him. Again, Florida State in on Vershaw. We've got to beat those guys. And staying on Robinson again, Florida's leading for Robinson at the point right now. And with Desmond, yep, Florida's leading him as well. Just winding this thing down here. I want to keep these episodes fairly, shorter than I have in the past, and kind of just keep it moving. Definitely, if you guys are here now, definitely, you guys are big time supporters. I appreciate that. Kobe's another point guard. There's a lot of point guards that we're looking at here. It definitely feels like that small forward position is hard to find, at least for us right now. It feels like we got some post guys, but we're kind of looking at some centers. A lot of point guards and guards, but it feels like that small forward position where we're sort of lacking some quality there. I'm gonna have to make that a point of emphasis. Blake's a really nice player. Virginia might be tough to beat for him. Let's just do this. Let's host these guys. Let's see if we can make an impact on these top level guys. If we host them, maybe we can go up from cold to warm. I know it's a hit to the budget, and this might not be a good decision, but I want to see how this works out. I want to make this impact. Let's bring in a 5-star in Isles and see if we can really make a difference with these guys. Definitely appreciate everybody for watching. Definitely subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Check out all your coverage of the Miami Hurricanes on InsideTheU.com. Thanks again, and take care.